Hello, everyone. Our conversation today is the importance of setting healthy boundaries in relationships. It seems to me that the term boundaries has a negative stigma to it, and that might be the reason why many of us do not set or establish healthy boundaries. Today, my guest and I are going to share our stories on how setting healthy boundaries have actually improved our mental health and reduced stress. Now, without further ado, let me introduce you to my guest. She is a business coach and one of my favorite young leaders, Gabby Escalante. Hello, Gabby.
Oh my goodness. Hi, Anna. Thank you so much for this space. You have no idea how excited I am. I think, well, maybe you do have an idea to be sharing time with you and
I,
having our conversations that we love so much, but this time live in front of all
yes,
of you. So I love it.
exactly.
I graduated from business school. I started working with different entrepreneurs. I do business coaching. Let's see, I've been surrounded by entrepreneurship all my life because that's what my parents do and my uncles. And honestly, like maybe 80% of my family are entrepreneurs. And so I am an entrepreneur myself. And I've had different businesses. And, I've had so many good conversations with Anna. This is kind of like the reason why we brought this here. Because as an entrepreneur, as a business coach, I need to set boundaries in order to move forward with my business and my relationships as well.
Yes. Oh, that was beautiful. Love. I like it. So let's go into the importance of setting boundaries and how there's always a pivotal point when we're like, oh my gosh, something has to give, something has to be different, right? For you, when was that? Do you remember like how you like, okay, I need to do this?
Yeah, I think there were two different realizations that I had when I oh my goodness, I'm repeating the same, but when I realized that I needed boundaries in my life. And so one of them was specifically about my business. So at some point, because I was working from home and I was doing kind of like things on my own time, I realized that I had a lot of friends and family think that I had all the time in the world to do anything that they wanted me to do, or the things that I just kind of like chose and put the business aside and such. And I had the realization that I needed to start setting time aside for my business, because sometimes, Anna, I was like working on a project, or I was working, I had someone to coach and I was kind of like going over the notes or something. And then I live with my brother, so he might just like come into my room and start talking about something that's exciting for him, and it was good things, things that I want to be there for. But I had to start setting boundaries when it comes to, what, right now, this is going to be the time that I dedicate to my business. And even though I am here in the same space, that doesn't mean that I'm automatically available for everything. That was one thing. And then something else that I would dare to say that it was even more impactful was when it comes to romantic relationships. And the thing is that I used to think that I couldn't have a successful business and a successful romantic relationship at the same time. Why? Because I thought that it was very difficult to be able to dedicate enough time to both things for them to grow and become powerful. And so I realized that the only way to move forward and to actually be able to build that successful business and have that romantic relationship and anything else that you ever want to have, and like, having good relationships with your family, friends, even with your clients as well, can only come to fruition if you really set boundaries. And if you say, what, this is what's okay, this is what's not okay, and then we're able to build something that's more powerful.
The same thing happening with my children, right? They're here and they see me here and they can just, and I'm like, I mean, come on, right? And then there are things like, okay, I work from this time to this time. At this time, please Like I'm not available, right? I interviewed,
Exactly.
I don't know if you know her, but Kimberly Townsend. She is an amazing community leader, and she's a CEO of an amazing, really large corporation here locally. And she said that the boundary she had to set with her children was, if it's not blood or flames, do not
Oh
bother
my
me
goodness.
between this time and this time. So
That's funny.
right, I really, but that really works for me, and it's working. Sometimes I need to remind them, but I mean, I need to be stronger, which is one of the important things about, once we set boundaries, we need to be consistent and keep them, right?
I agree with you. And as you're speaking, I'm thinking about something else that I think is really interesting. I think we need to set our own boundaries as well, with ourselves. Because I'm thinking, as entrepreneurs, it's very easy. And now that everything is there's so much information and social media and all these things that can be a distraction, to be able to know when to do it. Because if you are not, like, if I'm working on a project, but I'm also like checking on my phone, and I'm also trying to reply to someone else who's talking to me about something else, then I'm not going to be as productive. So being able to set those boundaries with yourself, and right now, this time, I'm going to dedicate to fully go into this project that I'm doing, or to fully build this, in my case, online course that I'm building for my clients. I can be so much more productive, and that applies in everything, not just in business, anything else that you're doing.
For sure.
um, just by like really being where you are, being present to what you're doing.
And that's like, okay, so we're defining boundaries, right? And
Yeah.
some, I got messages right before, because I usually get these messages about topics and stuff from our audience and viewers, and one of them was like, they were associating boundaries as a negative practice. And
Right.
I want to hear what you think, but for me, I believe that anything that comes from love, or anything that is going to benefit both ends, right, is good.
Right.
Right? So to me,
I agree.
boundaries are good, especially setting the boundaries and seeing the results, and how less of a stress household I have now. You know what I mean? So for
Yes.
you, what do you think?
Here's what I think. So I think I understand why boundaries can sound as something negative. And it's basically because, like, if you go to the meaning of it, it's really talking about limits, right? So this is what you can do and what you cannot do. And we don't like to be told that, there's things that we can't do. Now, the reason why they are healthy is because the limit is only there because it's opening up space for something even more powerful. So there is a limitation, and the word is there, and that can be associated with negative. But like you said as well, there is a reason why that boundary is there, and it's for the greater good. And
Yes.
it's in order for a relationship to work better, and it's in order for you to be more productive, and it's in order for you to grow that business. So the reason why there is a boundary is because it's going to create greater good. And the other thing is that you can only really give yourself fully to what you're doing, or to that relationship, or to that business, if you're taking care of yourself. And the way to take care of yourself is being able to set those boundaries, and what's okay and what's not okay in your life. And only there you can really feel fulfilled to be able to give your best at what you're doing. That's what I think.
Girl, listen, that's why you're an amazing coach. This is why you're an amazing coach. I love it, because it is true. And this is like, it happened for me. I was available. So I'm a feeler, right? So I feel people, and I'm so worried about they're gonna feel and all these things. So I will let myself be last. So I will be usually, right? I will take care of
Right.
everybody else. And then when it came to me, I was like, what about me? And then it so happened that when I needed some of those people who were using my services, right, my emotional tank, they weren't available for me. They had boundaries. They'll be like, I cannot do this right now. Call me tonight.
Yes.
Or I could. So they had those boundaries, and I respected them. But then they came to me, and I was always available. So when I set that boundary, they were freaking out. And when I tell you freaking out, they were going around the family saying how I have changed, how I'm this and I'm that. But in the other end, I was feeling relieved because I was putting myself first. And that was amazing. I like it. So to your point, yes, we have to value ourselves and we have to know when we're available for people and when we're not. And then that way we'll be able to set boundaries. Healthy ones, right?
Exactly. And healthy ones, exactly. And you know what you're saying right now? I think it's so interesting because whenever we say no to someone and that we can do something, later, we're usually going to be better at doing that something for someone later. So for example, if someone comes, like if someone gives me a call and let's say it's my aunt and she wants me to help her with her new business. And she has a question that's really important to her. And she's saying like, hey, Gabby, do you have 10 minutes right now? And my answer is not right now, but I can help you today at 7 p.m. The thing is that right now, if I was to help her, first of all, she's going to ask me the question about her business. And I'm going to be thinking about the other client that I have that I'm going to start, a meeting with in the next 15 minutes. So I'm not even going to be able to be fully present to her. But then at 7 p.m., when I call her, maybe I'm even going to have 2 hours to not just talk about the thing that she asked me, but then I'm also going to have time to talk about how can she start about growing her business and getting more clients and even, providing more value than what she's asking for. And so I think that's extremely important. Yes. And the other thing I want to mention to you, Anna, because I kind of want to know what you think as well, and is that growing up, in Latin America, there's really not many boundaries. And because it is a collective society, you're kind of expected, and you also receive that as well, to be available for everyone at all times. And so to me, just moving to the States and getting used to a new culture and getting used to seeing people have boundaries, was a little like shocking to me at first. So I understand how that feels from both sides. Because now when I set boundaries, I can also see sometimes people's reactions, especially within my family or, friends that I grew up with. And so, being able to see that, it's a little bit easier to navigate and to understand what it feels like to be on the other side and to explain, the reasons on why do I have that boundary, why it's important to me to have that. And that brings me back to the importance of communication. And so communication, I think it's key when it comes to boundaries, to be able to tell the other person what kind of like what's important to you, what's okay in your life, what's not okay in your life. And that's something that I've had to apply in romantic relationships, because if I don't, then, I already had that belief before that I couldn't have both.
Right.
So now I'm able to communicate it because it's important to me to be able to grow in both sides.
Gabby, so I want to take it to the romantic relationship aspect of it, because
let's do it.
As you mentioned, which was my belief as well, it's like to be a successful woman and have a successful romantic relationship, I couldn't have both, right? And let's share your story first.
All right, let's do that. I love this. Okay, anyways, so one of the things, we were talking before with Anna, and I want to share this with the audience as well. And it's that one of the things, or the areas in my life that was the most difficult for me to establish or to be able to work on as at the same time as my business was romantic relationships. And the reason was, I think there was a part that was from me and just like thinking that it couldn't be possible to have both. And the way I saw romantic relationships is, and oh my goodness, I'm like ashamed to say this, but here I go. I felt like I was taking time away from my business and to do the things that I wanted, right, when I was dedicating time to my significant other. And then I also thought that whenever I was dedicating time for my business, I was taking time away from what could be a good relationship. And at that point, this is, a couple of years back, I was putting all my time and effort into my business. And so to me, if I was to choose, and I thought I had to choose, now I know that I don't have to choose. If I was to choose, I was choosing my business. It was somehow a conscious choice, but it was only there because I used to think that it wasn't possible to have both. So to me, it was like, okay, so since I can only have one thing, this is what I'm choosing. Now, time goes by, and then I start thinking, I think I actually do want a romantic relationship. I think that it's an aspect that I want to incorporate into my life. And so, I start, going out and stuff. And I usually dated guys that were not entrepreneurs. And so, they had a set schedule, right? So they were working 8 to 5. And so now that I'm like, trying to make this work, I realized that to me with my business, I don't have set hours. And sometimes I would get a phone call at like 9 p.m. about something that was really important about the business. And so I felt a little guilty, but at the same time, sometimes I also felt misunderstood. As if because I was, taking a phone call whenever, it was hours that were not my business hours, if I was to have business hours, which I never thought they were important at that point, it was like unkind, or it was like weird, or it was like not being present in the relationship. And so having to navigate through all those things, once I decided that I wanted to incorporate romantic relationships in my life, was a little difficult at first. It wasn't natural to me, right? I also didn't know what to do or how to communicate, or sometimes, I remember this guy I was dating, and so he had a lot of free time, and so he would text me throughout the day. And I was at home working on my business, but also I was working on my business. But I almost felt like it was expected that I was to answer every text message right away because I was home.
Right.
And so, at that point I wasn't able to communicate it, so things didn't work out or stuff. But now something that I realized that does work, and how I've been able to build romantic relationships in my life has been by communicating, by like being straightforward since the beginning, being like, I have my business and this is kind of like how things work for me. And so sometimes I'm not going to be able to respond right away, but I do promise you that when I'm with you, I am fully present. And that fully present, I also needs to be, you really need to get into details in terms of like, okay, do you mean that, we're having this getaway and you're not looking at your phone at all? Or does it mean that you're responding to some messages but not all? But I think that when you communicate what's okay with you and what's not okay with you, then you're able to be on the same page, to really understand this other person.
And those are the boundaries that you have to set, right? These are the boundaries. But the one good thing that I heard you say was when you were dating this person.
Just one good thing?
Of the many, okay? So when you were dating at the beginning of you're dating this person, you would communicate, I'm an entrepreneurial woman and my schedule is not a 9 to 5. My schedule may vary depending on the projects that I have and things like that. So it is not just up to you, but it's also up to him to be flexible enough to say, okay, I can do this if you can keep your promise that we're going to spend time together, right? That is good. Right. For you, right now that's working out, and that's awesome. Congratulations, right? Because it is tough, just like you mentioned. But for example, for me, I would communicate those things and I will say, hey, you know what? Not only am I an entrepreneurial woman, but I'm also a mother. Right? I have, like, my time is very sacred and I will dedicate time to our relationship, but I have these things also, my family and my business.
I think flexibility, it's extremely important. This is why I think it's important to talk about these things since the beginning. Because that way, you know what's okay with the other person and with yourself as well. And then you're able to build something. But being able to fulfill the expectations, I think it's important as long as you have a conversation on what you can give and what you cannot give. And
yes.
Being clear about that.
Yep. And you know what I want to go? I want to go to, because you cut your hours significantly, but your income has like skyrocketed though. So the boundaries that you set as an entrepreneur with your business, let's talk about that and see how that was, because I am definitely interested.
I love that. Of course, I'm happy to share. So basically, what I did, and I was just to become more productive and to be more present, right? So in order to be able to be more present into what I was doing and prioritize the things that I'm good at, and kind of like take that learning curve when you're an entrepreneur and you have to learn social media and how to do videos and how to take pictures and how to set the lighting for your camera and how to sell your product and how to provide a good service. Like, it's a lot.
Yes.
Okay. So basically what I did is that I chose what was the most important thing for my clients. And I fully got into that thing. So once I realized what it is that it really needed me there, the things that were extremely important, then I just chose to spend my time doing those things and then delegating the other ones and finding and kind of like making a list of everything I need in order to provide that, right? So in order for me to be able to fully be there in a coaching session, I know that I need to be in a state of mind that's peaceful, that's abundant, that's healthy. And in order to do that, I need my free time. And so I organize my days in a way that I have enough free time that when I go to a client, I'm not tired because I've been working since 5 in the morning to 10 p.m., on what I'm going to post tomorrow. And going back to the boundaries, how do I get to do that? Is by setting boundaries. So in order for me to be present, I have times where I don't even look at my phone, so I can really do the things that I need to do.
Yes.
I have times when I'm fully, if I'm writing a strategy, I'm just there and I'm not even going to look at an email, or I'm not even going to answer a phone, or I'm not even, I try to have like snacks with me, because sometimes in order to get distracted, we even think we're hungry.
Right.
And so now I have everything on my desk. So anything that my body tells me that I need, it's already there. So, doing those little things, but really, if I was to, I could write a book about this, but if I was to summarize it, I would say I was able to cut my hours by being fully present into what I'm doing and choosing what really matters and what's important.
So you just focused on it. That's awesome. Just focus on that one niche thing that you found out your customers really needed from your services, right?
Exactly. I feel like sometimes we spend so much time doing things that our clients don't need,
right,
or don't want, or don't care.
And then, and you know what? That going back to what you mentioned, that setting also boundaries for ourselves. So you had a lot of discipline there, because you're like, okay, I'm not touching the phone until this time because I'm going to dedicate this to creation. And that's great. That's great.
Exactly.
Yeah. So, Gabby, you know what I want to do? And actually, to you guys, we're going to switch real quick to Spanish, because we want to address our Spanish audience, because we are recording this for them as well. So, right now, we're switching to Spanish. Stay in. All right. So, Gabby, el tema de hoy, okay. So, límites saludables en relaciones no solamente románticas, pero de negocios. Y te voy a pasar el micrófono a ti para que te introduzcas y nos digas un poquito de lo que haces.
Claro, con muchísimo gusto. Bueno, soy Gabby Escalante, me dedico a ayudarle a facilitadores y a coaches de pasar del mundo presencial al mundo virtual, de crecer sus empresas en el mundo virtual específicamente. Conocí a Ana porque yo fui a la Universidad de Syracuse a estudiar negocios, y ella vive en Syracuse, pues nos conocimos por cosas del destino, y luego pues empecé a trabajar con empresarios ayudándoles a crecer sus empresas. En este punto yo ya había tenido diferentes emprendimientos, y pues una de las cosas que más me ha ayudado a crecer mi empresa y como persona, y mis relaciones también, ha sido el poder definitivamente poner esos límites saludables.
So, Gabby, tres razones por las cuales deben de tener límites en términos de negocios y personales, ¿ok? So, sí. Vamos a darle las de negocios primero, por favor.
Claro, con muchísimo gusto. Bueno, primero que nada, una de las razones por las que debes de tener límites saludables es porque solamente teniendo límites saludables puedes ser productivo y puedes crecer tu negocio. Cuando te digo que puedes ser productivo, me refiero a que solamente cuando tú pones límites a las horas que le vas a dedicar a las otras actividades en tu vida, realmente tú le puedes dedicar a ese negocio. Lo segundo que te decía está más relacionado también con el crecimiento empresarial. El crecimiento empresarial solamente va a suceder si tú eres capaz de explicar y de decir lo que es importante para ti, lo que está bien en tu empresa, lo que no está bien en tu empresa, porque para poder crecer tú necesitas sentirte bien, y para sentirte bien necesitas tener claridad de lo que necesitas y pedirlo y establecer esos límites. Esos son de mi parte. Ana, yo sé que tú quieres agregar otro.
Bueno, lo hiciste tan... Nosotros estamos hablando anteriormente que Gaby está de vacaciones y ella está hablando español todo el tiempo. Entonces estábamos diciendo, ok, ahorita se nos olvida el español y a mí se me olvida el español y a ella se le olvida el inglés. Tú hiciste muy bien con el inglés, déjame decirte, pero yo aquí con el español estoy como que, un poquito como que... Pero para mí sí que tener límites es súper importante porque, como estábamos hablando, si queremos hacer algo, por ejemplo, tenemos una presentación que hacer y otras personas nos están preguntando por nuestra atención, nosotros debemos de expresarles que estamos haciendo eso, nos estamos preparando y necesitamos este tiempo para nosotros, para así calmadamente poder hacer nuestro trabajo y entonces presentarlo bien. Pero si no tenemos ese límite, pues las otras personas no lo van a saber y ellos van a estar, van a estar expectando o diciendo, ok, puedes hacer esto, preguntándonos a hacer cosas que si no ponemos los límites no vamos a poder. Sí, esa es la principal para mí.
De acuerdo completamente. Y entonces creo que si tuviera que resumirlo, sí, definitivamente el ser productivos y lo que está diciendo Ana ahorita es súper importante. El hecho de que solamente así puedes también crecer tu empresa. Y lo tercero que creo que es importante es que solamente si tú estás estableciendo límites también, tú puedes cuidarte para poder entregar lo mejor de ti como empresario. Creería que esas tres cosas son definitivamente claves, razones empresariales por las cuales tú debes establecer límites. Ahora cuando nos vamos hacia las relaciones, Ana, de eso me gustaría que hablemos también, porque es importante. Tú nos decías establecer límites en relaciones con todas las personas, en relaciones personales en general, con tu familia, con tus amigos, en relaciones románticas, que también hablamos en la sección en inglés. Y bueno, primero que nada es porque solamente así realmente tú también te puedes entregar a ellos. ¿A qué me refiero con esto? Damos, por ejemplo, un ejemplo con Ana de que si alguien nos llama que necesitan algo, pero tú no lo puedes atender en ese momento, sino que hasta más tarde, es mejor que establezcas ese límite y seas claro, porque si en ese momento apoyas a alguien cuando sabes que tienes que estar haciendo algo más, no vas a poder estar ahí para esa persona. Pero ya más tarde quizás vas a tener tiempo hasta darle más de lo que esta persona pues obviamente como merece tu tiempo y tu atención. Número 2, generalmente las personas y nuestras relaciones buscamos que estas personas sean felices y ellos buscan que nosotros seamos felices y solamente tú puedes alcanzar tu felicidad, tu plenitud si te sientes lleno con lo que estás haciendo. Entonces si pones límites con qué está bien y con qué no está bien, estás haciendo un acto amoroso para ti y también para los demás. ¿Qué opinas de eso, Ana?
Me gusta, es 100%, ¿verdad? Okay. Por eso eres un excelente coach de negocios, ¿verdad?
Y hay una tercera razón también. Y esa razón es también porque al tú establecer límites, creas relaciones más poderosas. Porque además de estarle diciendo a la otra persona lo que está bien y lo que no está bien en tu vida, les estás dando la oportunidad de que ellos hagan lo mismo. Y de que ellos puedan explicar qué es lo que esperan y qué es lo que necesitan para que esa relación sea poderosa.
Sí, y especialmente cuando hay niños en la casa que están aprendiendo y que están viendo de nosotros los padres, como nosotros establecemos límites
También.
saludables. Entonces así ellos pueden también establecer límites saludables con sus amigos, ¿verdad? Con ellos mismos. O sea que eso es como que el regalo que se sigue regalando. Se puede decir así, ¿verdad?
Sí, literalmente. Es el regalo que se sigue regalando, exactamente. Al final, de verdad, al final del día los límites son un regalo. Le estás dando unos regalos amorosos a tu empresa, le estás dando regalos también amorosos a tus relaciones y aunque sea difícil, de verdad, puede crear... De verdad, puede crear resultados increíbles. O sea, yo lo he experimentado, Ana lo ha experimentado, conozco a muchísimos de mis clientes que al empezar a poner límites en qué está bien, qué no está bien, pues han crecido más, sus empresas han crecido más, sus relaciones han fortalecido. Así que mi invitación es que empieces a establecer límites ya.
En la mía también, de seguro, ya, porque los beneficios se ven inmediatamente. No tenemos que esperar a que se desarrollen, lo vemos inmediatamente. Vemos cuando, por ejemplo, una persona, ya tenemos los límites y ellos los respetan. Ellos respetan esos límites y entonces no, como que nos sentimos valorados, ¿verdad? Como que nos sentimos que, ok, ellos valúan nuestra relación y queremos seguir, ¿verdad?
Y ellos entienden lo que está sucediendo y creo que también es nuestro deber explicar.
Sí.
¿Por qué este es un límite? ¿Por qué puedo hablar ahorita y no más tarde? ¿Por qué tengo que tener horas que solo le dedico a mi empresa y horas en las que sí te puedo dedicar a ti? O sea, ellos entienden, al nosotros poder explicarlo, le damos la oportunidad a las personas de entendernos y de ser amorosos y de fortalecer relaciones.
Exactamente.
La clave literalmente ha sido la comunicación y tener claridad de lo que yo necesito para crecer mi empresa. O sea, al yo saber qué es lo que necesito, entonces puedo aportar más.
La comunicación y tener esa flexibilidad va a funcionar, ¿verdad? La flexibilidad y tener en claro lo que queremos. Porque así podemos expresarlos y entonces nos entienden y las cosas, bueno, sale bien. Esperando, ¿eh?
De acuerdo. Vamos a ver, ahí te cuento.
Pero mis amigos, si ustedes quieren encontrar a Gabby, la pueden encontrar aquí. Gabby, di lo que tengas que decir aquí.
Bueno, pues ahí tienen mi Instagram, cualquier cosa, de verdad, estoy a las órdenes, soy coach de negocios, específicamente médico y darle facilitadores y coaches a entrar al mundo virtual, a ver cuáles son las diferencias si tú ya tenías una empresa en el mundo presencial, la quieres traer al mundo virtual y cómo lo puedes hacer de una manera rentable. Y por supuesto, incluir límites es una de las claves.
Inglés, ¿verdad? So you guys, if you would like to be a guest on the show, you can reach me at officially-unofficial@gmail.com. And also, if you are on Instagram, YouTube, Buy Me a Coffee, you can also find me there. So now, Gabby, any last minute advice that you would like to sign off with?
Just really continue setting boundaries. More than anything, really get to know yourself. Get to know what it is that you need in order to provide more. In order to provide more for yourself, for your business, for others. And once you realize what it is that you need, please communicate. Tell the world. Let them know. Let them know how they can be part of your growth in order for you to be able to bring them more value. That's my final advice.
That's beautiful. I like it. And with that,
I like it too. You know what? I kind of want to see that. I want to make this into a post. I like it.
Creative. This is it. So this is what we did. So this is actually going to be edited for LinkedIn and for Instagram, which is why we did it in English and in Spanish. So you guys can go check it out. The edited segments there. So anyway, Gabby, thank you so much for being here. It was such an amazing pleasure to have you.
Oh my goodness, it was an amazing pleasure to be here with you, for real. Just let me know anytime that you want to have a conversation. I'm happy to do so. So thank you so much. And thank you to all your audience. Thank you for your time and your space and,
Yes, you guys. Yes. Thank you so much for being here with me. And if you're catching the replay, feel free to leave comments or ask questions because I will be there checking for you. You guys, thank you so much. This is Anna Hill, and you're watching Officially Unofficial, where we make your lives easier one episode at a time. Thank you so much for watching. Bye, you guys.